breadcrumb. That's the nothing personal word of the day for Thursday, September 11th, 2025. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Breadcrumb is our word of the day. Breadcrumb is exactly what has been left to be found by anyone paying attention. That's the beautiful thing about a breadcrumb. It's not that it can only be seen by Pablo Torre. It's not that it's unavailable to be understood by Adam Silver. It's right there in plain sight. It requires the ability to put 2 plus 2 together to make 4, which you'd think would be something that those in the NBA or even those within the Clippers organization would be able to do. However, in this case, it took an investigation by Pablo and an episode that just dropped only 2 hours ago, depending on what time you're watching this, at 5 a.m. Eastern, what time you're listening to this morning, 9/11, 5 a.m. Eastern, episode 3 in the Pablo Torre investigation into the Kawhi Leonard salary cap circumvention story. You may recall episode 1 from just over a week ago. That's all it's been. Just over a week ago on September 3rd, when it was released that somehow Kawhi Leonard was given a $28 million no-show endorsement contract by a company named Aspiration. Aspiration was co-founded by 2 people. One resigned. The other indicted, pled guilty, wire fraud. One member of the board of Aspiration indicted, wire fraud. Executives within Aspiration, many of whom are sources of Pablo, one of whom went on the record on September 3rd to say that the contract with Kawhi Leonard was so outrageous in scope that it was circumvention of salary cap. It created all sorts of ripples, starting with 2 days later, Mark Cuban going on Pablo's show and trying to explain and defend Steve Ballmer by calling it Team Ballmer. Mark Cuban in that episode, not as well reported, but in the same episode, Mark Cuban stated very simply, well, if he in fact did do this, he's in real trouble. Throughout the course of last week, people started to panic. Steve Ballmer himself went to Bristol, Connecticut to do an interview with Ramona Shelburne of ESPN, and it was 16 minutes and 42 seconds of rope-a-dope, lack of credible anything, when he said, all I did was introduce Kawhi to Aspiration. I put $50 million in, you're right, but I got duped. I got scammed. It's all a big fraud. Pablo was not trying to prove that, in fact, Aspiration wasn't a fraud. It was. He wasn't trying to prove that Steve Ballmer didn't get conned. He may have. The point of the episode was to show the connectivity between investing in a company and then a company investing in a player, which would violate the terms of the collective bargaining agreement, Article 13, Section 2. But Pablo wasn't done. He picked up the phone this weekend and said, I'd like you to come and record an episode with me. And I'm getting Amin, and we're putting the band back together. And I said, is it about Kawhi Leonard? And he said, you'll find out. And I said, okay, are we going to be live? He said, no, it'll be like last time, where we'll tape and then the show will be released shortly thereafter. I said, I'll be there. I sit down to do the show, which is now show 3 in this series of salary cap circumvention. And no more than 15 minutes into the show, it becomes clear to me that what Pablo has is not about a different salary cap circumvention. It's not him finding out about something else that was going on in the world of sports or the world of cheese or the world of streaking. He had more information about Kawhi Leonard and aspiration. You see, for some reason, he was able to look through documents, to look through breadcrumbs, to have sources who gave him the information that I saw with my two eyes, that Kawhi Leonard was owed money by aspiration, money they did not have. But Kawhi Leonard was promised this money by the Clippers. That part to me is clear as day. Aspiration required an investment, and they looked around and could find nobody except for two people who have pled guilty already and one guy named Dennis Wong. What's the big whoop? Now, the investment was not made by Dennis Wong. It was made by a partnership that's controlled by Dennis Wong. But the name's different. It's a little more clever than KL2 Aspire LLC, which is Kawhi Leonard, uniform number 2, Aspire, aspiration. That was the LLC that Kawhi Leonard used to get his $28 million. Dennis Wong used a company called DEA 88 Investments. And you'd think to yourself, DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency? DEA. Could that be Dennis plus the name of his wife and daughter? Not really sure. However, when you look up DEA LLC, LLP, guess what? It's public. It's Dennis Wong. Now, Dennis Wong is not just any ordinary man investing in aspiration. Dennis Wong is the vice chairman of the Clippers. Dennis Wong is Steve Ballmer's college roommate. Dennis Wong is Steve Ballmer's go-to partner. Dennis Wong is a limited partner in the Los Angeles Clippers. That's interesting. He owns 1% of the team. That's not that interesting, except when you hear he's the only one who owns any shares other than Steve Ballmer. Dennis Wong, out of nowhere, in December of 2022, decides it's a great idea to invest $2 million into aspiration. And 9 days later, aspiration was able to pay Kawhi Leonard a $1.75 million slug out of the $7 million that he was owed each year. You see, when you owe somebody installment payments, and Kawhi Leonard contractually was owed $1.75 million from aspiration 4 times per year, and you know you have a cash problem, you don't worry about the next payment or the next payment. You worry about the current payment. And aspiration had already been late on a current payment. They were falling behind. The Clippers could not have been happy. Kawhi Leonard must not have been happy. So Dennis Wong rode in like an avenger and said, I will save today. Not tomorrow, but I'll save today. I'll put $2 million into a company that's going bankrupt. Talk about how you get poor from being rich. You do that. So why would Dennis Wong do it? Well, there are bank statements that Pablo Torre was given that show the money going in and 9 days later, the money going out. It is about as damning evidence that you could see. I must tell you that as I was sitting there recording the episode and I was taking this in, what Pablo was saying to me, I was thinking to myself, what is it that Adam Silver and the NBA are going to be able to do here? How are they going to handle this? And I was on record, very clear, that Adam Silver, after a Board of Governors meeting that just took place and finished yesterday, Wednesday, September 10th, he ought to do nothing when he meets the media. He's got PR people with him. He's got a general counsel, a head of communications. What is the upside to opening your mouth and saying one word to the media? The media doesn't deserve to hear anything. All Adam Silver should have said is, we have an ongoing investigation. We appreciate everybody's interest in this. We're in the middle of it. It's a serious investigation done by serious people. We'll be back to you when we know something. But Adam Silver did not stop at that. for a reason that he's going to wake up this morning and regret, because when Adam Silver met the media yesterday, he hadn't seen Pablo Torre's episode that just released this morning, September 11th. He didn't know that Dennis Wong, another Clippers owner slash vice chairman slash college roommate, was involved in aspiration. Now, he clearly must have known Dennis Wong, because Dennis Wong is the alternate governor for the Clippers. Of course, Adam Silver knows Dennis Wong. Dennis Wong, who appeared in pictures on the ribbon cutting for Intuit Dome. You see Steve Ballmer, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is Steve Ballmer with the scissors. I still have my scissors from Groundbreaking. Look at the far left in this picture. There's a man in a blazer looking lovingly at Steve Ballmer. You know who that is? That's Dennis Wong. The same Dennis Wong who Steve Ballmer yelled and screamed about when he was opening Intuit Dome, how excited Dennis Wong was about the project. Dennis Wong, the real estate guru. Dennis Wong, the brilliant man, puts $2 million into a failing company that then 1.75 of it goes to Kawhi. It's like, were they being funny? Did they say to themselves, we can't just put 175 in? Hey, Dennis, put in a little more than 175. And Dennis is like, Steve, I'm throwing money away. I'd rather give it to your family, your charity. I'd rather give it to my daughter, wink, wink, who works at Aspiration. I'm going to put it into Aspiration as an investor? Why? Dennis, you know why. But let's not make it obvious. Let's not leave too many breadcrumbs. Let's invest $1.99 million. What a great idea, because Kawhi is only owed 1.75. When Adam Silver finds this out this morning, and believe me, his phone has already been ringing. The bat phone into Adam Silver has gone nuclear this morning, because Aspiration, the company, is not the story. Adam Silver telling you that he's never heard of Aspiration, while unbelievable, is not the story. The story is Steve Ballmer investing $50 million into a company, that company defrauding him not believing in the company anymore, him saying to himself, there's something wrong in the state of Denmark. And then Steve Ballmer telling his best buddy, hey, put another $2 million. But Dennis said to Steve, it's not another $2 million. I've never invested in this company before. Yeah, I know. We'll send you some of the disclosures and you'll see. And I saw these. The disclosures and the disclaimers and the reps and warranties in the investment agreement show legally that this company was a disaster, being investigated by every federal agency you can think of. And yet, Dennis Wong said, this is the perfect time to become a first-time investor in Aspiration. Really? I'm not sure there's a worse time unless you need to get money to Aspiration to get money to Kawhi. Adam Silver didn't know this, so I give him credit for that. I don't know why he said what he said yesterday. I want to play for you two things that he said. Let's start with something here, Coca. Adam Silver talking to the media after the Board of Governors meeting on Wednesday, September 10th, one day before the new information broke on September 11th that Dennis Wong, the alternate governor, the college roommate, the limited partner of the Clippers, had invested $2 million into Aspiration 9 days before Kawhi Leonard got paid.
When the podcast came out, it was news to me. I'd frankly never heard of the company Aspiration before, and I'd never heard a whiff of anything around an endorsement deal with Kawhi or anything around. And
stop right there, Coca. Did you hear what Adam Silver just said for no particular reason? He had never heard of Aspiration. Do you think the commissioner's aware of $300+ million sponsors that teams have? Aspiration signed a $300+ million sponsorship deal with the Clippers as part of the pre-Intuit Dome opening. They were the founding partner of Intuit Dome. You think Adam Clipper didn't know about Intuit Dome? Do you think there's a chance that Adam Silver wasn't aware that aspiration was on the seat backs of the best seats at crypto.com when the Clippers were playing? Look at this Avenger. Look at Simu Liu. Look at him. He's sitting in an aspiration seat. That's October of 2022 at crypto.com arena, right as things are about to go to hell in a handbasket. Adam Silver wants you to know that it took listening to Pablo's podcast to have heard of aspiration. I'm happy to say that. I had never heard of him. If there were a $300 million founding partner of any of the 30 teams while I was in baseball, I would have heard of that company. Why? I would have tried to get them to invest in my team. We're always monitoring. Do you think that the league, who's responsible for league sponsorships, isn't paying attention to what teams are doing? Do you know what happens when a team gets a $300 million deal? Wait for it. The league calls on that company. Hey, you got any for the whole league? We can get aspiration, not just LA. Let's save the earth in 29 other cities. Why don't you become the sponsor of the NBA Finals? Forget YouTube. We can be the aspiration NBA Finals if you're dropping 300 large. The irony, of course, of aspiration on the seat back at crypto.com arena is a sight to behold. But Adam Silver has zero credibility that he has not heard of them. Zero. Adam Silver went on to talk about the investigation, the burden of proof, he said, as though he had listened to our show, which had not yet come out, where I specifically said on Pablo's show this morning, the burden of proof is strange. The burden of proof is not on the accuser. It's on the accused, which it shouldn't be. But Adam Silver let you know, no, the burden of proof is on the league. We've got to find the evidence. That's why we're investigating. We've got to give Steve Ballmer the benefit of the doubt. Great, Adam. I hope you do, Mr. Commissioner. Give him the benefit of the doubt. But after you see the evidence, after Wachtell Lipton, a real investigative firm, if you let them really investigate, you will have no choice but to find that Steve Ballmer and Dennis Wong circumvented the salary cap with their deal of $28 million to Kawhi Leonard over 4 years. Just add up the breadcrumbs. I conclude with this. I'm fine if you're not convinced. I don't need you to be convinced that there's something here. I'm fine if you are convinced through the breadcrumbs, through the investigation, through the 7 months of reporting that Pablo has done, through the 2 episodes that I've recorded. I ask you to think about this one thing only. As you go into an investigation, when you believe something may have happened or may not have happened, how do you stop yourself from an exercise in confirmation bias? How do you stop yourself the way Adam Silver could not stop himself by coming out and saying, it's just a podcast. The public generally jumps to conclusions that aren't true. They're generally wrong. How do you stop yourself from finding something that you know you don't want to find? The answer is when the breadcrumbs become too loud, too frequent, when the court of public opinion becomes too strong and the evidence becomes so overwhelming, even when circumstantial in nature, that it cannot be ignored. That's where we are with the aspiration Kawhi Leonard Clippers story, and the Dennis Wong involvement is what gets you there. We'll keep talking about it because guess what? Spoiler alert, if you know Pablo like I know Pablo, there's more. It would be easy for me to take a position on the assassination of Charlie Kirk yesterday. I don't want to make it easy on me. I don't want to give any of you the lack of respect by taking a position that you think is mine or is not mine. So I'm going to give it to you exactly as I took in the news that Charlie Kirk got assassinated during a town meeting at a university in Utah on a campus. For those of you who don't know who Charlie Kirk was, Charlie Kirk was a 31-year-old married father of two. Charlie Kirk was someone who had opinions that differ from mine in almost every way. Charlie Kirk had a right to voice his opinions everywhere, every day, in every manner, in front of any group. Charlie Kirk was exercising his right of free speech the way that I require, because when free speech turns my hair gray or makes me sick to the point of night sweats and tummy aches, that's the type of free speech I need. That's the type of free speech I crave. I don't want to live in a place where Charlie Kirk does not have the right to say whatever it is that he believes and wants to say. That's where I want to live. That's where I want to work. That's where I want my kids to be. The person who assassinated Charlie Kirk cannot die slowly enough for me, cannot be tortured enough for me, cannot be punished enough and fast enough for me. Anybody who has an opinion different than Charlie Kirk's, anyone who believes that what happened is right, just, had it coming, anyone who thinks it, forget says it, anyone who thinks it, that's not the person I want to share a country with. How can you, in your right mind, no matter what side of the political aisle you are on, how can you believe that killing someone who believes differently than you is the plan? I want to bring you back to when the CEO of United Healthcare got assassinated and the murderer who will rot in prison and cannot be tortured enough, in my mind. How is it that any of you were celebrating, oh, he deserved it, he killed so many people himself with his healthcare decisions? Are you not understanding that the country that we're living in, forget the school shootings, forget 9/11, which we're going to get to. Let's just talk about the quashing of free speech, freedom of information, freedom of choice. That's where we are. And if you're answering the question that you're comfortable where we are, then you must have been super, super uncomfortable with where I thought we were, where I expected us to remain and always be. The level of sick that I felt yesterday for Charlie Kirk's family. I have a thing where I feel worse for the people who survive than the people who die. I can't quite explain it because I understand that being dead must be the worst because I'm so scared of it personally. I'm so scared of anything permanent. But I think about the people who live because I've seen it. I've seen what it is to have kids whose parents both die in an accident and then have to live their life without parents, and whose kids have to live without grandparents. I've seen what it is to have a husband lose a wife, kids lose a mother, and people lose a sister. I don't quite understand what happens to the dead, but I sure as heck understand what happens to the living. I've seen what happens when a brother dies. Charlie Kirk has two young kids who will now live their life regardless of their point of view, regardless of their political leanings. They are going to live a life with a dead father. The impact of this is not today. It's every day, not for a year, not for a decade. The impact is when his kids have kids and they are born without a grandfather. I was so furious yesterday as people were using the Charlie Kirk assassination as some sort of political point to either prove or disprove what they believe to be the reality without anyone saying, hold on a second, someone shot him while talking. He was sitting there talking about stuff that would make me crazy. Someone killed him. There is no coming back. That's the part that kept me up last night, Coca. It's not that I haven't been there before. This one felt different to me. This one felt different because my brain is a funny thing. I've told you all that my brain is both the best and the worst part of my body. I hate my brain and I love my brain at the same time. But last night, the bags under my eyes are well earned as I was staring at the ceiling before I decided to watch content, knowing that I was done and I could not fall asleep. I could not come to grips with the possibility that I've been wrong the entire time and that the world that everybody wants is the world that I don't want. And the world that exists is the world that everybody wants because it exists and because people are fine. You've got the usual people saying, oh, this is outrageous. This is terrible. Thoughts and prayers. Come on. That's your point of view? So I figured it out. You can take away guns from people. You can reverse the Second Amendment. You can do whatever you want. You can arm everybody. Give everyone automatic weapons, everybody rifles. I figured out it's not the guns, actually. It's not the guns that are killing people. The guns are being used, don't get me wrong. It's like me blaming my glasses for the fact that I can't see. I'm not blaming the guns anymore. I'm blaming the people who have the guns. I'm blaming the people who are so filled with hate and so filled with sureness in their own views that their views have to be right. And that anyone who has opposing views, by definition, has to not just be wrong, but has to be silenced. When did we become that? Where we had to silence the other side permanently. I don't want that. I want to debate the other side. I want to crush the other side with facts, with information, with reason, with intelligence. You don't win when you silence the other side through violence, through disrespect, through idiocy. That's not winning. That's degrees of losing. The degrees of losing. It's the concept I thought about. It was about 4 a.m. I knew I had an hour until Pablo's show was going to be released. And I started thinking about degrees of losing because I was thinking about War of the Roses. I was thinking about Danny DeVito. I was thinking about divorce. I was thinking about the impact of divorce on kids, on parents, on the whole package. And I remember Danny DeVito, because I just rewatched War of the Roses, saying when it comes to divorce, there is no winning. It's degrees of losing. And I thought for the first time, because I've been thinking about that for, 30 years, I was thinking to myself, is that the case with everything now? Is there no more winning? And we talk about sports a lot where people are despondent about their team, where 29 out of 30 MLB fan bases are going to be upset before the month of October is finished. That's just sports. As seriously as we take it, somehow, how silly it is. Is it all just degrees of losing? Because even when you win the World Series, you have to start again. So what have you won? You've won the day? You've won the moment? Degrees of losing may be the most negative way to look at something that I've ever seen. And I was thinking last night, as the roosters started to crow and the birds started to chirp, what a waste to believe that everything is a degree of losing. I have spent every day, and this is no joke, every day since September 11, 2001, I have thought about September 11, 2001. Each September 11th, I spoke to you, and I've told you during the course of this show, and this is now the 5th September 11th we've shared together. I've told you the story of how Lee Stevens, our former Montreal Expo, how he and I had a drive from Chicago back to New York because the skies were empty. I've told you about what happened with the mother of my children, my wife at the time, who was the principal of a school, the assistant principal, where kids sat there in New York City waiting for parents to come who never came. I've told you the story of what it was like to be with the commissioner of baseball in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, when the terrorist attack happened, and we thought about, do we cancel games? How long do we cancel games? Do we make a statement? What do we do? as we sat watching the TV together prior to a quarterly owners meeting in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on September 11th of '01. Every time there's a blue sky, I think about 9/11. Every time I see a plane over New York, I think about 9/11. Every time I get on a plane, I think about 9/11. I've talked with therapists about it, and I've got not 1 degree with someone who got killed. I've got 2 degrees of separation from people who lost their lives, but that's not the trauma for me. The trauma for me was trying to come to grips with the hatred, was trying to come to grips with the people who cannot live and let live, which helped form and helped really make permanent my view and my philosophy. You've heard me say live and let live. What part of that includes crashing an airplane into the Twin Towers? Or taking over a plane and having heroic people crash the plane in Pittsburgh in order to save more lives on the ground? If you haven't been to the 9/11 museum down at the World Trade Centers, you are missing an opportunity to bathe in misery, to bathe in memory, and to bathe in what's supposed to be hope. And I feel as September 11th came this year, as we are approaching the 25th anniversary next year, it's 24 years ago, that it comes on the same day that we're talking about the assassination of somebody, when we are talking about school shootings and mass shootings, and we continue to talk about war that is going on overseas. Things aren't getting better. And it doesn't keep me in my PJs under the covers all day. It makes me want to get out, get on the platform and scream at the top of my lungs, asking people who are in charge to explain to me why. Explain to me so I can understand it. And I consider myself relatively smart. And I can't come up with any reason why these things continue to happen. I can't figure out why it happened on 9/11. What leads to that hatred? Yeah, people get killed. Guess what? I'm Jewish. You know that. Yes, my people died in the Holocaust, 6 million of them. I remember it. I will never forget it. It doesn't cause me to be violent. It is not an excuse to be violent. What it enables me to do is remember and to try to make sure that I do my part so that it doesn't happen again. And imagine when I look around and see that it happens again and again and again to people, not Jews, but other people, the genocide, it continues everywhere on many continents. The terrorism continues. And what we're stuck with is marking anniversaries, reading off names of people whose deaths 24 years later are as acute as they were the day after it happened. The generations of people who lost parents, spouses, grandparents, it doesn't stop. The first responders who have died, who are sick from trying to be in an asbestos-filled, horrific cleanup situation. Those families, the impact, it's not over in 24 years. Just like the impact from the Holocaust, that doesn't end after 80 years. The way that things come to an end is that you're able to change current and future behavior because of what's happened in the past. Instead, what we do is we mark the past, we light a candle, we read off names, we cut into breaking news, and then we do it again. I'm not going to continue to try to change everybody. I just will continue to be myself and change myself, and ask that as you're listening to this show and giving of your time and hearing the things that we're talking about, yeah, is it unreal that the Clippers circumvented the salary cap? Yeah, that's sports. That's sports business. Don't be distracted by the sensational within sports and entertainment, because I love it. I make a living and I'm interested in it. It's fascinating to me. Big business. There is more in this world than the business of sports or the business of business. It's the business of us, the business of people. That ought to be the biggest business in the land. Yet the stories within sports and out of sports continue every day. Every day you've got investigative pieces, investigative journalists who are finding stuff out. Yesterday, buried within the Kawhi Leonard situation, buried within what happened off the field to Charlie Kirk, was a story that came out in The Athletic about the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers off the field are a complete mess, and the timing could not be both better and worse. Better in that the story got buried in everything else that happened yesterday. But don't despair, Athletic. Make sure you're a subscriber. Don't despair, because we're going to give it oxygen right now. The Detroit Tigers seem to foment a experience for women that is less than pleasant. They seem to permit an environment where sexism, where inappropriate behavior is not the exception, it's the norm. The Athletic did an investigation which has found that at least 8 men employed by the Tigers, including their broadcast arm or their parent company, at least 8 have been accused of misconduct toward women since 2023. 8. 7 of the 8 were accused of mistreating women were employed by what's called Ilitch Sports and Entertainment. Let me explain what Ilitch Sports and Entertainment is. It's a holding company like Fenway Sports Group. It's owned by Mike Ilitch, who died, left his son, Christopher Ilitch, in charge, and they run not just the Detroit Tigers, they also own and run the Detroit Red Wings. They own and run Comerica Park. They own and run Little Caesars Arena. They own and run several other entertainment entities. Think about Jimmy Dolan and Cablevision. Think about Fenway Sports Group. Think about Ilitch Sports and Enterprises. That is the way rich people get richer. You buy more stuff, and then you do basic economies of scale. You don't have a sales team for the Red Wings and a sales team for the Tigers. You do a sales team for both. It lets you fire half. Marketing, PR. You can pretend that you are not doing it, but that is exactly what you do, because that makes business sense. So when I tell you that employees of Ilitch Sports and Entertainment are having a problem with women, what I'm telling you is employees of the Tigers and MLB is going to be interested in this topic, because they have to be. When you are trying to build your demographics, to evolve your demographics to be both younger and to be women, you cannot have the same old clubhouse atmosphere that was so common back in the days when I started in baseball. It wasn't just about fart jokes. I've told you that I built Marlins Park. It didn't occur to me to have a female umpire's room or a female coaching staff area. Didn't even occur to me. How wrong I was. How short-sighted I was. Pretty amazing to do something that becomes old so quickly. Well, the problem in Detroit is that you've got men who are resigning, men who are being accused, including people in the baseball operations department. And their answer is the most simple, pathetic answer that you'll hear. What do companies do when they see that they're caught, when they see that they have had this environment of maliciousness? What do? It's sort of simple. You basically give a statement, and the statement is always a good one because it's always the same thing. Tell me if you've heard this before. We are committed to a culture of respect, safety, and inclusion. We do not tolerate discrimination or harassment, and when concerns are raised, we investigate promptly and take decisive action, which has included terminating employees for misconduct regardless of seniority or tenure. We are committed to accountability and to upholding the standards essential to our workplace. Hell yeah. That seems to be the most obvious statement that you could make. So the president and CEO of Ilitch Sports and Entertainment when asked about the Athletics report, said it was a gross mischaracterization of the culture here. What the Athletic found were things that we already knew and had already resolved. Can you imagine that that's the answer from your president and CEO? If I am the owner of Illich Sports and Enterprises and I am trying like heck to maybe have someone respect us as an organization, especially with the fact that we're sort of having a good year with the Tigers for the first time, we could win the division, the rebuild's over, we got a chance in the playoffs, and now people are talking about this, and my president and CEO, I cannot believe, is coming out to say, hey, we knew that. Hey, the Athletic, that wasn't fair. We've got a way better culture than that. Boy, that's great. Don't you think a better comment from the CEO of Illich Sports Entertainment would have been a little better off by saying, we are mortified that anyone in this company felt unsafe or felt harassed. It is inexcusable, to say the least, that we either had knowledge or should have had knowledge that there were people who didn't feel secure when they came to work. Now, don't bring up the fact that the Tigers are one of 3 teams without paid maternity leave. Don't bring that up. Don't bring up some past stuff with Little Caesars. Let's not do that. Don't do that. Let's just talk about today. Let's be able to move forward with peace, harmony, and love, and maybe a tiny bit of justice. MLB will see this investigation, and they will have no choice but to act. It's not enough that Illich is saying we knew and we took care of it. It is an absolute embarrassment to baseball to have a front office like this, and we've seen it in front offices with other teams, and it's created sales like, hey, the Suns, Sarver, sell. Hey, Mark Cuban, you may say you didn't know. That's interesting. Your whole environment was not that great. Baseball will act here. They will have no choice but to act here. And when they act, they are going to act swiftly because they need to let it be known to sponsors, broadcasters, partners, fans, that mistreatment of women is simply not going to be tolerated. It goes beyond just front office people. A person I traded for, Cameron Maben, got caught up in this. He was a broadcaster for the Tigers who did inappropriate things, sent inappropriate text messages, and was taken off Tigers broadcasts. These things are going to all be reinvestigated and brought up again. When you get sued by former employees over age discrimination, over sex discrimination, at some point you have to look at who's in charge. And if you're baseball, you have to say, this is not exactly good for our game. Will it cause a suspension of Christopher Illich? Will it cause the Tigers to be forced to sell? MLB will not go to that option because the owners will not support that option, because once you go for one, you come for all. There are certain things that owners will put up with and certain things owners will not. In this case, the necessary punishment will simply be a punishment, not an elimination. But when you go and read what the Athletic did in more detail than I've given you, you will see that there will be no choice but for the commissioner of baseball to stand up and do something. Coca, let's do a review, please. No matter the day, it doesn't matter what happens, and this is probably one of my failings, although it's easy when you've got 24 hours in a day. Every Thursday, every day, I watch a movie. I'm reviewing number 87 in my top 100. Please go to davidsamsonpodcast.com. Wear the merch, buy the merch, enjoy the merch, but I've got every episode there. And there's a tracking document at davidsamsonpodcast.com that goes through every movie in my top 100, every word of the day, every pick of the day. Go ahead and get there. Every Thursday, I'm going to review a movie from my top 100 for 100 Thursdays. We're like at 87. We've got like 12 more to go. Good news, Ex Machina with Dom Gleason, Oscar Isaac, and Alicia Vikander. Do you remember that movie? It's about AI. It's about Oscar Isaac, a brilliant scientist who develops a person who happens to be beautiful and way smarter than the people who invented her. Dom Gleason wants to find out what's going on, so he goes to the place where the AI woman is. He may or may not fall in love with her. Who wouldn't? He may or may not get duped by her. Who wouldn't? The movie may or may not end in a way that will blow your mind. It will. Spoiler alert. It's an older movie. It ages perfectly. It may not survive to make my top 100 going forward, but I got to tell you, the pertinent view that it had back then, and the movie's what, 10 years old is my guess? We are in a place now in our society where the possibility of AI in the form of Alicia Vikander, that's more than possible. It's downright probable. Check it out. Next week, Thursday, we are going to review Boyhood. Boyhood is number 53 on my list. That's a really good movie. I'm excited to watch that again, Coca. There's a movie I'm going to watch today, and it's called Honey Don't. Honey Don't is now available on streaming with Margaret Qualley. I am on it, and I'll review that tomorrow. Nothing personal pick of the day. I hope you're paying attention because we're now 123 and 116. We had the Orioles as big underdogs over the Pirates and Paul Skeens. And you may think that's total lunacy. Stop betting against Paul Skeens. And I may tell you, well, the Orioles won in 10 innings on their fourth walk-off in the last 5 games. Side note, that's only the second time the Orioles have done that ever since it started. So the Orioles over the Pirates was a win. We are 123 and 116. It is week 2 already in the NFL. This is the time of year as we head into October, which passes just like that. But this is when week 1 and you're thinking the NFL season is just starting. And then all of a sudden you're in like week 15 because week 1 just ended. The Monday night game just happened. Roger Goodell has it nailed. We have Tuesday, Wednesday without football, and then boom, we're back, baby. And we're back with the Commanders and the Packers. The Commanders are getting 3 points from the Packers. I love that. Jaden Daniels is getting 3 points. Now, I grant you that the Packers with Micah Parsons, people are saying, hey, they're the Super Bowl fave now? Not exactly. They're the favorite to get out of the NFC? Maybe one of them? But 3 points over the Commanders? Are we forgetting who Jaden Daniels is? Would you rather have Jaden or Jordan? Jaden, Jordan. Uma, Oprah. I'm taking Jaden. We're taking the Commanders +3. There's also baseball tonight. This pick is for Matthew Coca and Scott Riley. I know that you can't get worse than you are. The Mets can't win a game. They're holding on to a playoff spot by 2 meager games. The Phillies have kicked their tuchus. Well, David Peterson to the record, baby. David Peterson is pitching tonight against Luzardo of the Phillies, and David Peterson is going to rescue your season, at least for a day. David Peterson is an underdog to Luzardo, who is inconsistent at best and going to lose at worst. Take the Mets, Scott. I promise you're going to like it. So the nothing personal pick of the day, Commanders +3, and then Peterson and Mets over the Phillies. Guess what we get to do after the break? There's more nothing personal, and our good friends are going to be here. It's Will Middlebrooks and Jenny Dell. Hell yeah. Right after this break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal on September 11th. Yes, you made it through the first hour. It was heavy. Second hour, since June 2nd, you know what happens on Thursdays is we get a guest. But today we decided we're going to do better. We're going to have two guests. And this twosome is the most fearsome of twosomes I've come across. They are close friends of mine, and I am blessed to have them in my life. It is Will Middlebrooks and Jenny Dell. They're joining us together on this Thursday morning live. Thank you both for coming this early. Will Middlebrooks, if you look at him, which Coca's going to look at Will. Oh my God, this is like the dating game. They're so cute. Will Middlebrooks, the Red Sox broadcaster, CBS Sports HQ, MLB analyst. Jenny Dell, what a power couple. The lead college football reporter for CBS. And I've gotten to work with both of them. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Heavy morning, but we're happy to be here with you. And the fact that we're together right now, this is very rare. So
yeah, and that's what it was throwing me off is OCD I am about this setup in here. And I was going, normally this is a solo mission and I'm blocking the ring light. And David goes, we don't care. We like ring light here.
Yeah,
we're good.
I'm just so happy. So during the course of a season when college football has started, and Will, you are so busy being a Red Sox broadcaster, how often are you two actually in the same place?
not often at all.
In the summer, it's hit or miss. But then once September gets here, hopefully October too, David. We'll talk about that later. We kind of just wave at each other as we fly past each other in the night.
I think Will's been in Boston or with the team quite a bit this year. I think you're doing 120 games. So he's been home. We moved in June, and I think he's been in the new house maybe
a week
since we moved. So it's been a busy season for him.
It has. It's definitely character building season for me.
Yeah, that's funny. You mean
you learn sacrifice
or marriage building?
No, building, definitely. I feel like it's been really good for us in a way of like learning how to make everything work. Not all together.
Yeah, you have to remember, I mean, Will and I's relationship started when he played. So this is very similar to that type of relationship where, you know, the baseball player's gone and the mom is holding things down at home with the kiddos. And the only difference, exactly. I shouldn't say only difference because there's a lot of working women in baseball, but working full time with two young kids and trying to make sure that they're seeing their dad and getting up to Boston or meeting him on the road. So it's been a lot of moving pieces.
Are you FaceTiming with the kids every day, Will? Is that what you do when you're on the road?
Yeah, thank God for FaceTime. Absolutely. Yeah, and they're in kindergarten and first grade. So they don't understand necessarily how important FaceTime is. So they get it and they just immediately want to start playing with the filters and turning me into a bear or a tiger or putting stickers on my face, which you can do on FaceTime. They see it as a game and an opportunity to play on a phone.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily think, oh, I miss dad. Let's talk to dad. But for me, it's still that's getting to play with them while I'm on the road. So I'll take it.
So the Red Sox are in a playoff spot right now. Are you going to continue? How does it work with your role as a broadcaster? Will you be with them if they make the playoffs?
I will. So obviously National will take over the TV rights for those broadcasts, but I will do WEEI radio, which is our Red Sox radio network. So I'll be doing that for as many as possible. Now my oldest, Madison, has a birthday on October 10th, and I am going to at least make sure to be here. Fly in for 12 hours if I have to, just to see her on her birthday and then right back up.
Boy, I'm going to come off so horrible here.
Uh-oh.
You're telling me that you're going to skip a playoff game for your daughter's birthday? No. I don't want to come off as that guy, but
no, you don't have to.
There's a reason for this. I'm going to be gone.
Oy.
I'm on the road. I believe
birthday's it's a Friday.
It's a Friday. So I'll be traveling. I think I'm at UCLA or USC. So
and I'll say this, David, I love my job. And I love the organization and I love what I do and I respect the game a lot, but nothing will ever come in front of my kids.
Well, how about a game 5 of the American League Division Series?
We talked about it.
So I'll just tell the team, you take care of it in the first 3 or 4.
We'll be good.
Because I got to go see my baby girl.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
But I can only say this, that what you could do, and I'm going to get hammered for this, You could say that October 11th is October 10th.
Okay, so we used to do that.
We did, but she's
when
way
she was
too
younger.
smart.
Now she's too smart. We pulled that so many times over the first 6 years of her life. We're like, yeah, it's your birthday today. No, but now she knows the date. She looks at the calendar.
So you work in, I'm going to get to you, Jenny, because I want to talk about
Oh,
what it
okay.
is to travel the country and see all the different atmospheres. As a matter of fact, I want to go there now. All the places you've been, if I were going to go to a college game, and I'm going to blow your mind right now, I've never been to a college football game.
What?
Okay,
What are you
everyone stay
doing?
calm. I went to University of Wisconsin. I didn't go to one game. I would never make it inside the stadium. The college football playoff at the Orange Bowl, when I was in Miami, we'd take the bus and we'd party and tailgate, never made it into watch the game. So I've never actually seen a game. Where should I go in the country to have the best atmosphere for a game?
That's such a tough question. I'm going to answer it in a couple different ways, just by my personal best experiences. Loudest stadium, Neyland, Tennessee. Unbelievable. I would say one of the best atmospheres I've been in, a Penn State whiteout game, which it should be on everyone's bucket list. Underrated stadium would be at Auburn. I feel like people don't expect it to be this wild, crazy, raucous environment, and it is. I just came from Autzen at Oregon, and that was one of the most fun. Just shout between the third and fourth quarter. I mean, the entire stadium's in it. It was a complete blowout game, but you got to get to a college football game. There's nothing like it.
It's
What about
hard to pick a
Alabama?
bad SEC school too. I think
Big Ten.
a night. Well, I know, but I mean, like, of course, a big school. I
Yeah.
mean, just necessarily. But I think a night game at LSU is supposed to be like.
Never did it.
I haven't done it either. That's on my list.
Yeah.
Well, there's no way to do all of that, Jenny. So when you're doing your job and you're in that atmosphere, is it distracting to you, or are coaches less apt to talk for longer when they can't hear you, or they're just trying to get off the field from the mayhem? Does it have a negative impact on what you're trying to do?
Not at all. I think when the energy is high and the environment is crazy, the coaches feed into it and they love it, and it just makes for a better interview, honestly. I mean, there's times where you're talking to a losing coach and that's always a terrible experience, but anytime that the fans are behind the team, I think that's what the coaches and the players love the most.
Do you guys ever talk about the fact that Boston really has the best atmosphere, maybe better than any of the ones you described? Because in my experience, is there anything better than Fenway Park when it's rolling and you're sitting there in the park? And Will, you must have you've been there.
different.
You won a World Series with them.
Well, it's different when it's so Fenway is special, obviously, just because you're in a museum. Number one, I always talk to the young players when they first get there, and I'm like, just go stand in the box and look out there and realize it's the same vantage point and perspective that Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, all the legends that you read about that don't even feel like real people to you, stood right here. That the home plate's never moved. The wall is never moved. They've built around it. They've built up the truly deck and the seats on the monsters, and the buildings behind it have changed. But the actual perspective of the pitcher's mound and what the pitcher looks like, and the ball comes out of his hand in a certain way, which it does differently in every stadium, it's exactly the same as what those guys saw. So I always have young players go do that, because that's kind of the beauty of baseball, is the history of it. So I think that, on top of a fan base that is, I think rabid is a good word.
Yeah.
They're either hot or cold. They love to love you, but they love to hate you too if you're not playing well. But when they're playing well and things are going great, and I'm going in tonight, I'm flying back. We have the Yankees coming in town, which you obviously know. There's a big series coming up that has a lot of playoff implications and seeding implications in the wild card. The place is going to be shaking to the ground, and I cannot wait. I'm on radio for it, and pre and post and all that, and we have all the national team. Apple's coming in. ESPN's coming in Sunday, but that's the one consistent, is the radio is always the radio in Boston. So we know we'll have a good following for that.
I think it's just different. It's different environments. I think, like, in a crazy baseball game, I think about covering them in the 2013 World Series. It's like you're holding your breath for every pitch, right? But in football, you're just screaming for like 4 hours straight. So it's just it's a different vibe.
There's kind of that at Fenway too, because when the other team is out there, you watch some of the younger pitchers from other teams come in late in games, 7th, 8th, 9th inning, close game, and you watch these guys crumble under the noise of Fenway, which is odd because it's 36,000 people. It's not these 60 plus thousand people,
It's such
100
a
in
small
football.
footprint.
It's just different because I think the anger inside of these Bostonians tends to come out at Fenway Park in a positive way.
In a positive way.
Have you signed behind the scoreboard in the room?
So have our kids.
Our kids did.
No way.
Yeah, we had our kids do it this summer.
I want to tell people what it is. In Fenway Park, if you're lucky enough to be involved in baseball, you can sneak behind the manual scoreboard. And I took my kids there too when we played the Red Sox. And people sign it. Now, I don't know if they paint over it ever, or is everybody's signature still there?
There's some places that do get painted over on the actual green sheet metal. That gets painted over, I believe they said every 3 or 4 years. Now there's concrete that doesn't, it's a majority of it is concrete, and that doesn't get painted over. There's still a mark that a lot of people don't know. It's really small, and I like to show people when we go in there. Manny Ramirez went in the corner and it says Manny's bathroom. Because he would always disappear into the monster, Manny being Manny, but he would always go in there sometimes during pitching changes, and he had a little corner where he would go to the bathroom.
That is both funny and disgusting.
Yes.
All at once. But Fenway Park has this history, and when you're describing games on the radio, radio, as you know, so different, such a different skill than TV. What is it when you're calling Red Sox games on radio versus doing your TV analysis? What is in your brain in terms of the story that you're trying to paint to your audience?
Well, it's almost like, you see the Matrix gif when there's like all the numbers and around your head, and you're trying to figure out and you got to know there's a different demographic a lot of times too. So in Boston, a lot of the people who listen to radio probably don't care about analytics and WOBA and expected stats. They don't care because they probably been listening to the radio since they listened to it with their grandpa when they were growing up in the garage when he was working on his truck.
Joe Castigs.
And they had Joe Castiglione, legendary Hall of Fame broadcaster who Will Fleming just took over full-time this season after he won the Frick Award last year, went into the Hall of Fame, and riding off into the sunset. He's actually going to be in for a few innings with us, this weekend for the Yankee series to come in and talk to his people. But TV is fun in an aspect of where I can speak to video and I can show you exactly what's happening and why it's happening. Radio, to your point, much more difficult because you have to be the artist. That's it. You have to explain things in a way that it does paint a picture in the mind of the listener. So I like the challenge of that, and it's been a process, and it's been something that I've had to work on. But I feel like I see the game differently. I don't know. I mean, from the everyday person, obviously, just because I played the game and spent a lot of time in the game. But even doing TV, as much as I have over the last 4 or 5 years, has helped me in the radio aspect of just understanding the difference and understanding the detail and the layers you have to go in to explain the game.
And I will also say very quickly that the dynamic between Will and Will Fleming is fantastic. You guys have
you have to have that.
There's a chemistry. They have fun. It's entertaining. They're both incredible at what they do. So it's a fun listen.
How many games of Will's do you listen to, Jenny? Do you try to listen to every one?
As much as I can. A lot of times we'll have it on in the background, when I'm getting the kids ready for bed or we're doing dinner. If we're in the car, we're always listening to it. So whether he's on TV or radio, we'll make sure that that's on. I try to listen to every game that I
girls
can.
Are actually
Maddie,
our oldest, is very invested into the Red Sox. She will cry if they lose.
Yeah.
She will be through the roof if they win. And she's angry every night that she has to go to bed because she has to wake up at 6:30 for school the next day. And even though the pitch clock has made the game much quicker and the pace better, it's still the 6th or 7th inning when it's bedtime, and she'll
get mad.
Not happy.
Yeah,
so not happy. Give you a piece of parenting advice that's, I think, super cool, that was done to me by my stepfather when I had to go to bed when Knick games were still going on. He would leave me notes under my door, so when I woke up, I had the score of the game.
That's great.
Summarize the game, and I did that for my kids. When they had to go to bed during Marlins games, I would leave a note. So when they woke up, they would see Marlins lose again or Marlins win again. You could leave notes for Maddie under her door, and then she'll keep them her whole life. and it's really a cool thing.
Put a little.
That's a
together.
great
I love
idea.
that idea.
It's amazing that I'm giving you a parenting idea.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
I want to go back to something that we're talking about with the Red Sox, a little bit of baseball here. Do you believe that the Red Sox situation, are they disappointed where they are? Or in spring training, if you had said, hey, tied with the Yankees, behind the Blue Jays, in a playoff spot on September 11th, are you taking that on February 15th or not?
I think the expectations were sky high, obviously, because you bring in Crochet, Aroldis Chapman, Alex Bregman, who were all All-Stars, by the way. So they were great signings, and they've been really great for the team. Aroldis Chapman just gave up his first hit yesterday after 50 batters of not getting a hit. So I would say, as you know, David, as long of a season as it is, those expectations from spring training are normally forgotten, and it's just where are we in the season and what do we have? So I think they are happy at the moment where they are. I think if you go back to spring training, there's probably some disappointment. A lot of that has to do with pitching and injuries, because they lost 5 or 6 guys that would be a part of their 4th and 5th spots in their rotation. But there's been a lot of positives as well, right? You have this youth movement. They are very young. And that's why I think getting to the playoffs is going to be so important for this team, just building that experience from square one in their career. And then that's an expectation the rest of their career. So whether it's Roman Anthony, whether it's this pitching staff that you've seen with Peyton Tolley and Connolly Early, who just came up, there's all this youth surrounded and has been supplemented with elite veteran talent. So I would say right now, to answer your question, they're not disappointed. They just feel like they're in the fight, and they feel like they just need a chip in a chair. They just want to get in, and they'll be fine.
Jenny, can we get first chip in a chair? I'll take that. Jenny, how many teams are in the Big Ten?
18.
So why isn't it called the Big 18?
Great question.
How does that even make sense to you?
mean, you look at the Pac-12, all of them. There's just so much movement. They need to just, I feel like, get rid of names at this point.
So you have to study up. So let's talk about the Big Ten, which is the Badgers are there. And I believe the Badgers right now are favored to win the national championship. I think I have that right.
I don't think that's correct.
Although our daughter is named Madison after Madison,
Wisconsin. So there's that.
There is that.
And also, I'm going to have an opportunity, I believe, I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but I believe that I'm going to have a chance to go to Madison to catch a game for the first time. I think we're going to have the Ohio State game, which would be a really good one. So I'm excited to.
Fun.
I've heard amazing things.
But the tailgating and the partying that starts at the frats and the sororities.
Is that where I should be?
Can you do that?
No. Maybe I'd get fired, but when I'm ready to be done with it.
But if it's worth it, by all means.
Maybe.
Listen, I promise you won't be flying home for any birthdays. But can we talk about the Big Ten and the way it's sort of made up?
Yes.
Right now, I think 3 of the top 5 teams are out of the Big Ten.
There's always the discussion between the SEC and the Big Ten, both obviously incredible programs in their own right, just the conferences in general. I think there's a little changing of the tide when it comes to who has a little bit more oomph. And this year, it seems like it's the Big Ten. I mean, the last 2 national champions have come from the Big Ten. The SEC had a huge run before that. But there's a lot of talent. And whether that's transfer portal, just the way the schedules are set, who knows? But it's very exciting to be a part of this conference right now. Obviously, Ohio State is always going to be top notch. Oregon, I was looking at the game, 69-3. Granted, they were going up against Oklahoma State last weekend, but I mean, that program is firing on all cylinders right now. Michigan's always expected to be good, even though there's some questions over there. Penn State, I mean, they've returned so many of their players this year. So there's a lot of talent in that conference.
So right now you used to have to just stay in the Midwest for the Big Ten. Now you're schlepping. I think Florida to Oregon, that's got to be close to the worst flight and longest. You can get to Europe before you get to Oregon.
There might be a 3-week stretch coming up, I believe, where we have Washington, UCLA, USC back to back to back. So I will just be flying from one side of the country to another.
Sky miles.
Yeah.
Very high in this household.
You do what you got to do.
Sky miles and Marriott points.
Yeah. Right.
Hey, we're in
Exactly.
baseball.
We
we're in
don't pay for
sports.
our vacations. We just use our funds from travel.
I want to do a speed round with you if you'll
Oh,
do
boy.
this, if you'll indulge me. This
Okay.
is it's not like the dating game, but I want to really, because you guys to me are the power couple in sports. Will Middlebrooks, you know him as a World Series champion. You know him as the broadcaster for the Red Sox. You know him from CBS Sports HQ, is married to Jenny Dell. And I'm not going to say who I love more because it really is a tie. I love you both. Jenny Dell is the lead college football reporter for CBS. And they're married. So here's the speed round. Get ready.
Oh, boy.
Do not be embarrassed if you can't get it right, but it will make me laugh.
Okay.
We're going back and forth. We're starting with Will. First movie scene together with Jenny.
First movie scene.
Which movie did we first watch together?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
God, this is a bad start.
I know a movie that I forced her to watch. This isn't the answer, but this is going to create a tremendous story.
This is bad.
I had to force her to watch The Sandlot,
It wasn't
David.
forced.
No, she had never seen The Sandlot. We were
Yes,
spring
she
training in
had.
Arizona. I was with the Padres or the Brewers at the time. And I said, "Oh, The Sandlot's on." She goes, "What's that?"
I didn't know. No, I did not say what's that. I said, give me the mic back.
It happened, David.
No,
She had to watch The
That is
Sandlot for the first
outrageous.
time with me.
I didn't say what's that. I said, I have never seen it.
Ooh, that's very different.
I have no idea what the first movie we watched was.
Okay,
If
I
it-
don't either.
Yeah, no idea.
Jenny, the last TV show you two watched together.
Bear.
Did you like The Bear?
Love it.
Love The Bear.
So
Love it.
good.
We're still in.
Anxiety filled, but I love it.
Yeah.
Will, perfect meal in your perfect day.
His perfect meal or my perfect
Yeah.
meal?
Will's perfect meal.
Oh, do you want
Well-
me to answer?
I want Will to answer, and then I'm getting to you.
Mine would be
'Cause I
if
know
I
what
could
has
go out back and grill, not too out back, like in my backyard, and grill a really nice ribeye, mashed potatoes, green beans, big side salad. That would be for me. Can I just tell you what hers would be, because it has to be specific, because it's is it 6 or 5?
We'll go 5.
5 hard shell tacos from Taco Bell.
No.
She's a disgusting human being, David. Don't let the outer shell trick you. It's a hard shell, by the way.
Yeah, you have to go hard shell.
Jenny, get a pen and paper right now. 536 State Street. That was my address in Madison.
Okay.
536 State Street is a building that is above a Taco Bell.
Oh my God, that's my dream.
Jackpot.
So I never in my life have been into a Taco Bell. I've never eaten
missing
Taco
out.
Bell.
You are missing out.
Well, clearly I'm
That's a lot.
missing a lot of things. But what I said to myself is if I ever go into that Taco Bell when I was in college as a junior and senior living above it, I thought to myself, I'll never not go in. So I made the disciplined decision to never stop at Taco Bell, no matter what time of night I got back to my apartment. But I believe it's still there. So when
I'm
you
gonna
go to
check.
Camp Randall,
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna go to State Street Brats. I'll get some brats, and then
Fantastic.
I'll make my way. I'll finish off at Taco Bell. What a night.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, that's going to be a great FaceTime as you're like in the Marriott bathroom. It's going to be perfect. Hey, I'm trying to get to you before you go to bed, Maddie. Okay. Will, number of phone calls made home while on the road per day.
Oh, FaceTimes or phone? Well, most of them are FaceTimes when she's with the kids. I'd say we probably FaceTime with the kids 3 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Like
mean, they're quick.
morning,
I mean,
noon,
it could
and
be
night?
anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
it's not a lot.
normally pretty quick. Like, hey, how you doing? How was your day? I miss you. I got to start the game. Or
All right.
I got to go into a meeting. So it's normally quick, but I want to make sure I'm present.
Jenny, the last fight you and Will had.
Ooh.
Like real fight?
Is there any other kind?
Last fight we had.
This is the
Oh,
beauty of
stop.
never being around each other.
We
don't
actually
fight that much.
we enjoy being around each other.
It's probably it's normally because of something I forgot to do.
Yeah. I'm very type A, and I have like a pretty detailed list of things that need to get accomplished. And I'm not trying to say,
No, it's fine. If you're type A, I am type R.
yeah, And I typically hold the majority of responsibilities when it comes to getting things done around the house. And
I get to it, but it's on my time.
so it was probably that he forgot to do some, like the one thing I asked him to do when I'm doing,
You don't have to tell me.
50.
Sorry,
It's
look,
fine.
we're not around each other enough to dislike each other.
Yeah.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Well, Will, I hope for you that you stay out through October because it means the Red Sox have a deep run, which is going to be amazing. Jenny, no matter what happens, you're going to be on the road 3 straight weeks, going to the West Coast and back, hopefully going to Taco Bell in Madison. I appreciate your time. I love both of you, and I'm thrilled that you gave us time this morning.
We love you, David.
We do. Let's do it again. This is fun.
All right, see you soon. That was Will Middlebrooks and Jenny Dell. They really are a power media couple. I am super thankful that they gave us their time. And it's interesting to talk to a couple who are both in the industry. My experiences having and being couples with one in the industry, one not in the industry. And believe me, it can be complicated. I want to talk a little bit more now, Coca, about the season that we're having at Major League Baseball. Couple of things are going on of note. And if you had not been paying attention, this is the time of year when even the players are paying attention. And the reason I enjoy saying that is most fans can't believe what's true, which is if you ask a baseball player what the team record is in May, they won't know their own record. I knew our record every single day. Obviously, I was team president. You ask a player in May, what place are you in? Are you in first? Are you in third? Are you in fifth? 9 out of 10 players will not be able to tell you the team record or where they are in the standings, period. Now, they'll be able to tell you what they did 3 nights earlier with a 2-1 slider and whether or not they got fooled. But on September 11th, and that is to say any day in September, that is when players who are on teams that have a chance to play in October are paying attention to the standings. If you're playing out the string in Colorado, in Chicago, White Sox, in Miami, many teams, Washington, you're playing out the string, the players are focused on September 28th, last day of the season. They are not paying attention. They don't realize, they know they're not in the playoffs. They know they can't be in the playoffs. They are focused on the end. They are making their off-season trip plans. They're getting ready to go back to their family. September is especially hard for those players, which is why we don't evaluate player performance in September on a bad team, because it is like evaluating performance in March in spring training. It can give you clues, but it's not dispositive in any way. So for the teams who are out of it, I put them aside. For the teams who are in it, Philadelphia, the 12 playoff teams, plus the teams who are right there, Cincinnati, San Francisco, Texas, Cleveland, Kansas City. Those teams are locked in. Those players are dialed in. They not only know who they're playing tonight, they know who their next series is against. They know which trip is coming up. They know the schedule for the rest of the season. It is a remarkable switch that gets turned when we turn in the season, which becomes late. And we are now 4 days away from it being late. The last 2 weeks of the season. We've had early, we've had middle. We've had early middle, we've had late middle, we've had early late. We are now in middle late. We're about to be late. So what's happening within baseball is incredibly important. And what's happening is quite fascinating. This year, we have 2 players, Cal Raleigh and Kyle Schwarber. If you're paying attention, you know that each of them have 50 or more home runs. Cal Raleigh has 53 home runs as he tries to get to 62. Not going to happen. I thought he'd get to 60. Although, Coca, I have a wait to see. Is my wait to see that Cal Raleigh will get 60 or won't? I could have sworn I said won't, but I'm not sure. But that's why we have the document, Coca. But I know you're a solo, and I know you're crazed, so I won't ask you to look. But Cal Raleigh is not going to get to 60s at 53. Schwarber just got to 50. There's only 2 Philadelphia Phillies who have hit more than 50. Ryan Howard, Kyle Schwarber. That's the list. Now, what's interesting about Cal Raleigh and Kyle Schwarber? They're each batting 240. Do you think that's good? Are you thinking about Dave Kingman or Adam Dunn? What are you exactly thinking about when I tell you that Raleigh and Schwarber are 240 hitters? I'll tell you what I'm thinking. It's never happened in the history of baseball that someone's hit 50 or more home runs and not hit 260. It's never happened. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Because average is something that analytic people in baseball don't give a hoot about. I can't figure it out. I've spoken to a lot of baseball people about this. Do you know what batting average is? Like when you're at the plate, if you're hitting 240, it means roughly 24% of the time you are going to get a hit, which means 24% of the time you're going to be on first base at least. Then you add up the number of walks and you get something called on-base percentage. You know what's good about on-base percentage? It's really good because it's hard to score runs without being on base. Can we agree with that? Are you willing to agree that scoring runs is the only stat that matters? You can talk about average, earned run average, home runs, runs batted. I don't care. The only stat I ever cared about, one of them, runs. How many runs did we score on a day? How many runs did the other team score on that same day? Losing 18-1 one day and then winning 4-3 the next day does not mean, my God, we have a negative run differential. We're despondent. It means we've won one game, we've lost one game. We're 1-1. The object is to outscore the other team. The way to outscore the other team is to get on base. But it seems to me that the computer models tell you, nah, don't worry about it. Batting average, it's a thing of the past. Well, I've got news for you. That is going to spin back the other way soon because teams are going to start realizing the funniest thing about analytics is that 29 of the teams following analytics are going to lose this year. 18 of the teams who are following analytics are not going to play in October this year. They're going to have to go to off-season meetings and look at everything they've done and say, wow, I wonder whether my spreadsheet was wrong. I wonder whether I misread the computer. Because I got to tell you, what it says to do, we did. We've got players wearing the Fitbits. They're sleeping. They're not sleeping. They're eating kale. They're not eating kale. We're making sure they're up in the box, back in the box. They're not swinging. They're playing when they're playing, tired or not tired, hurt, not hurt. Oh, God, we've only won 70 games out of 162. I don't know, except my evaluation of my GM, my evaluation of myself, my evaluation of the manager and the players was based on our record. Not exactly sure how you base it on anything else. The reason I asked Will Middlebrooks is about expectations, is how many times we have during the course of our show talked about the delusion that we feel as executives. When we look at our team and we're proud of our team and we think we've put together a great team and then the team doesn't win games and we say, wow, that's got to be a problem with someone else. It can't be me. We put together a pennant-winning team, and now we're winning 70 games. At what point do we take responsibility and say to ourselves, wow, we're delusional. We, in fact, put together a 70-win team. When the Mets look back on this season, if the Mets blow this and do not make the playoffs, I find it to be the same as the Mets making the playoffs and losing in the first round to the Dodgers or whoever they play. The Mets built their team, and fans are getting this wrong right now, with all due respect. Fans are looking at it as sort of a binary issue, making the playoffs versus not making the playoffs. But the way the Mets are built and the way the Mets are organized, from Steve Cohen to David Stearns all the way on down, is that they're not trying to make the playoffs. That's what we were doing with the Marlins. We're trying to make the playoffs. It's what the Reds are doing. It's what the Texas Rangers are doing right now, or the San Francisco Giants. They are trying to make the playoffs. That's not the Mets, folks. The Mets are trying to win the World Series. And anything short of winning the World Series will be a season wasted. As we watch these last 3 weeks unveil themselves, it's not even 3 weeks, it's under 3 weeks. We're sitting here on a Thursday. The season ends 2 weeks from Sunday. All of these stories will come to an end, and we will be able to evaluate exactly what happened and who made it and who didn't and who's going to get canned. Because believe me, changes are coming. I want to quickly go to a correction. I appreciate the corrections that are made very much. Thank you. When I get something wrong, I did a story yesterday on Toronto and the 50-50 raffle as part of the So You Want to Talk to Samson, and I got it wrong. Thank you. One way that they get the money that high is that they not just sell 50-50 raffle tickets to those in attendance. There's an online component. So you can live in Edmonton. You can live anywhere, in theory, and buy a 50-50 ticket. That would explain also the high numbers. Thank you for the correction. We have no script here. We get it wrong. Thank you for helping. Did you see the announcement yesterday, Coca? Netflix is coming out with a new documentary. Who killed the Montreal Expos? People are all over me, Coca. I love that you have a memory that I worked for the Expos from 1999 to 02. I do. So let me spoil a little bit about who killed the Montreal Expos. A new Netflix documentary coming out on October 21st. There's been no trailer yet. There has been nothing other than 4 images, one of Felipe Alou, one of Vladimir Guerrero, one of Pedro Martinez, and I believe the 4th was Larry Walker. Clearly, there are players who are being interviewed about who killed the Montreal Expos. That's the name of the documentary, for crying out loud. Well, let me put to rest a rumor that you may have heard or may be fomenting. Yes, I was interviewed to be part of a documentary about the Montreal Expos. Here's what I don't know. I don't know whether I will be left on the cutting room floor. I have not seen a trailer. I have not seen a screener. I haven't seen anything other than an announcement yesterday that this thing I participated in is now called Who Killed the Montreal Expos? So naturally, I'm going back in my head. Okay, wait a minute. Is this going to be like Survivor? Am I about to get the villain edit? Are they going to say that I killed the Montreal Expos? There's no possible way. They can't actually think that the person who took over the Titanic after it hit the iceberg and the captain had jumped ship and says, hey, chips ahoy, baby. They can't say that guy killed the Expos, can they? Well, that's the beautiful thing about movies. I don't know what the heck they're going to say and who's going to say it. Are there people around town? Is it you, Ariel Helwani? Is it you, one of our former limited partners, Mr. Sour Grapes? Could it be you who says I killed the Expos? It can't be Vladimir Guerrero. He and I had a great time with the Expos. What did they get, Britt Reams and Scott Strickland? They could say I killed Montreal, like slate it, but they're certainly not going to say I killed the team. I'm pretty excited to find out here, Coca. I will be watching the movie just like you will on October 21st in theory, unless somehow I'm contacted by Netflix. Hey, David, nice interview. You made the movie. Hey, David, nice interview. You want to help promote the movie? And I'd say, hey, I'd be happy to if you tell me who killed the Montreal Expos. Can you imagine if I'm sitting there doing an interview trying to tell everyone, watch this great documentary, which it certainly is going to be, and then there I am, like in the first minute, like in a mugshot. Who killed the Montreal Expos? Turn to the right. Turn to the left. All right, Coke, I just turned the opposite way as I said I was going to turn. Can we talk about something else with the NBA, please? Who doesn't love the heave shots? Am I the only one? I love those. Do you know what a heave shot is? You know, in an NBA game when time's running out in the quarter and there's like 3 seconds left and they put the ball in bounds and then they take a 3/4 court shot or a half court shot and Nikola Jokic takes the ball and throws it like a football toward the basket and somehow it goes in the hoop. Or Steph Curry lines up with a perfect jump shot as though he's from 20 feet and it's really from 60 feet. I remember thinking to myself as an executive in sports, players don't like doing things that could have a negative impact on the money they make. So I would pay close attention when there were players who didn't have long-term deals yet who were asked to do something like do a sacrifice, which would not count as a hit. When they would be forced to do things that were for the betterment of the team to help win a game. And some players wouldn't like to do it if it would impact their individual stat, which they felt would impact their money. When I'm watching basketball, I can't help but think the same thing. When a player takes a shot from 3/4 court, that's a 3-point attempt. And when they miss, which they always do, that means you've missed a 3-pointer, which means your field goal percentage is worse than it would have been had you not taken the shot. So, players, think about that, because your 3-point field goal percentage is a part of your everyday front and back of your basketball card. It's part of the stat sheet. And players don't want to shoot 20% from three. They want to shoot 25%, 35%, 45%. They want those stats to properly recognize a real 3-point attempt. So what players were doing who didn't have the guarantee of money, who were thinking about their standing in history, they wouldn't take these heave shots at the end of quarters because they wouldn't want the stat. Now, Curry and Jokic are different because they're the only two people who actually can hit those, but everybody else would just pass. What the NBA realized is, well, hold on, fans love that. It's a big-time highlight. And Adam Silver said, hey, we're a highlights game. Side note, Coca, can you imagine that's what Adam Silver said about his game when asked about the price of watching basketball? He said, hey, we're a highlights game and highlights are free on Twitter and YouTube. That's funny, actually, because highlights are not allowed to be on YouTube unless they pay the league in order to be able to show highlights, but I digress. But what Adam Silver realized, and he's had a bad couple days, I grant you, but what he realized is, hey, we want players taking those shots because the fans love them. The in-arena fans, the people watching clips, those fans, they're fun. When they hit the backboard or they hit the rim and bounce off, people love it. When they go in, it's like a dream. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to change the rules, and I am livid. Any shot taken in the last 3 seconds of the first 3 periods that's over 36 feet will not be an individual shot attempt. They're going to count it as a team field goal attempt, and no one cares what the team shooting percentage is. It never comes up during salary talks. It never comes up during free agency, ever. What comes up is individual field goal percentage, period. And now you can take that shot. If it goes in, you got it. It counts. If it doesn't go in, doesn't count. What is that? Do you know why people should be taking those shots with 3 seconds to go? Because you're trying to score points. And on the 1 in 1,000 chance that shot goes in, you've given your team 3 points. It should be mandatory for players to have to take the heave shot. Dribbling out the clock in the middle of a game with 3 seconds left? Who does that? That's like saying with 2 outs in the ninth, 2 strikes, no one on, down 4 runs. Forget it. I'll just take the 3rd out and I'll go home. And most times you'd be right, unless you're the Baltimore Orioles playing against the Dodgers, in which case 2 strikes, no one on, down 3 runs, you come back and win the game 4-3. The 3 points matter. You're not going to hit it often. You may never hit it in your whole career. It is your responsibility. You have the ability when negotiating to keep track with your agent. Hey, you may think I'm shooting 30%, but the truth is 2% of that are these crazy heaves. So without that, my effective shooting percentage is 34%. You're allowed to say that while you're negotiating, and the team's allowed to say, well, I hear that, but you're really 30. The team knows what the heaves are and what they're not. The team's paying attention, for crying out loud. Why do we have to change the rules that take away a downside? That's the whole point of life. Anytime you do anything, there's upside, there's downside. If you're doing something that's down the middle where there is no risk of any reward, what are you doing it for? To pass the time? I do not like that the NBA passed this new heave rule. I am out. Before we end today, Coca, I want to mention a lawsuit that is on the books right now. And this is something that John Skipper and Pablo Torre and I have talked about. And we have talked about with Coca the fact that the fans are getting screwed left, right, and center when it comes to watching your sports and how you watch them, where you watch them, what you have to pay for. Are you aware of the new opportunity at Sling TV? This is the skinniest of skinny bundles. It's the shortest of short-term bundles. And Warner Brothers Discovery said, wait a minute, not fair. Sling TV, owned by Dish, came up with a way that if you want to get TNT or TBS and you only want it for a day or a weekend, we've got you covered. Come to Sling TV, come to Dish, and you can buy it by the weekend. And Warner Brothers said, well, that doesn't seem fair. You're breaching the contract that we have with you, which makes people buy it by the month. You can't offer someone something by the day or the weekend. Totally unfair. We're suing you. Think about what Warner Brothers Discovery is alleging here. The lawsuit, which was just filed in federal court in New York, is basically saying, hey, Dish, you're violating our license agreement that we have that makes you take all of our stuff and makes your people pay monthly. We want people doing that. And what Dish is saying and what Sling TV is saying, you know what? I think our customers want to even be more micro. They want to really only purchase what they want to watch, and they're willing to do it one day at a time, Bonnie Franklin. What does that sound like to you? Sounds like pay-per-view to me, doesn't it? If you're able to buy such a skinny short-term bundle that you're doing it by event, isn't that exactly what pay-per-view is? That other than, but for that event, you wouldn't be buying what you're buying, and you don't care what else is being offered except on pay-per-view. There's nothing else offered except for the pay-per-view event. And the funny part is, we're trying to convince the audience, hey, you want TNT, TBS, ESPN, Netflix, Apple, Peacock, Paramount, you want them all. You get more than just your sports. You get all the other programming we offer. But wait a minute, I'm a customer. I don't want anything else. I just want the event. Here we are talking time and time again about pay-per-view. Talking about how pay-per-view is something that is the thing of the past, like with UFC, even though it's not. Maybe that's what we all want. Maybe that's the way it's going to be going forward, is that it's not going to be less pay-per-view. It's going to be more pay-per-view. Because what if you were willing to pay for everything you wanted? Like every meal you ate, you had to either grocery shop or buy at a restaurant. Sometimes you get leftovers to take home, or you make enough for another meal. Sometimes you get a weekend. But the rest of the time, you get the day or the hours of the event. We do it everywhere in our life. Maybe doing it in sports and entertainment is exactly what you all have been crying for. But when it happens and lawsuits happen, they're happening not to benefit you. They're happening to benefit the companies that you are supporting. Why? It's the same reason always. It's just business. We'll be back tomorrow. This is nothing personal.